Did you hear what said?
Did you hear what said?
Did you hear what said?
Go. Ava Smith, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Awesome. It's good to have you on.
Thank you for inviting me.
No,
this
thank
is
you.
Fun.
Yeah,
I'm trying to keep it together.
You look good keeping it together. For sure. Yeah, it's great. So we met literally yesterday
Right.
at the barbershop.
We did.
I think if you've seen us too and you were like, where'd y'all meet? And we said the barbershop, you probably wouldn't believe us.
Probably not, but you're the second connection I've made through that barbershop, so.
Really?
Yes.
I'll be the best connection you made.
I think so.
Yeah. So Ava, you have a podcast called Dirty Secrets of Massage, correct?
That is correct.
Cool. And what's that about?
So I had stories, lots and lots of stories of massage that I've collected over the years, and I didn't really have anywhere to put those stories.
Mm-hmm.
Every now and then I would tell my friends, you're not going to believe what happened, or this and this happened, or you won't believe who came in and what the call I got, or anything like that. But that's just, I didn't share everything. Like how I got started, that is on there. Like the down and dirty of the truth of massage, what happens in the session, that's appropriate, inappropriate, and it's just a tell-all of the experience I have in massage, outside of massage, and dealing with the public, which is a predominantly male-dominant. This is a male-dominant field when it comes to clientele for the most part.
Mm-hmm. How long have you been doing it for?
So I've been licensed since 2018, but I had some underground fun before that happened.
Nice.
And so that's how I really got started. I had a friend, I'm prior military, she's prior military, and she got into massage, and I figured, well, I knew the final exam, the licensing exam was extremely difficult, and I thought, well, she's got experience in anatomy, maybe, but at the time I'd already had EMT certifications. And so I thought, well, let me dive in and try it out. It's only 2 semesters at the college, and I'm like, I can do it. And so I did. And so I've been in the field since probably about 2015, and I've been licensed since 2018.
Since 2018. Nice. And so what got you, what made you want to, so you said you were in the Navy, right?
Right.
And you did, how many years were you in the Navy for?
I did technically 14 years, 11 months, and 28 days. And so I had a lot of exposure. Is a predominantly male field there too, and some of those experiences come into the podcast as well, of like how I screen people, how I can tell what other people's intentions are based on how they talk, demographics, and all of that comes into play.
Mm-hmm. And you grew up in a military family too, huh?
I did. I have 4 brothers and a sister, and we all joined except for my sister, and we have a combined total of 30 years served.
Wow. What branch? Are they in Navy too? Or
I had, two Army brothers, a Marine, a Navy brother, and then myself.
2 Army brothers, a Navy and a Marine?
One more Navy and a Marine.
Wow. And what was your dad?
Well, he was a draft dodger, but my dad's father was a CB in the Navy, and then my mother's mother was a nurse in World War II, from what I understand.
Wow.
So we have a long history.
Well, thank y'all for y'all service. Seriously,
it
all
was
the way
my
down
pleasure
the line.
most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. So let's see. You started back in 2015, 2018 when you got licensed.
Right.
2015 started doing the schooling and stuff like that. What led you to wanting to hey, this is something that I'm kind of, because you said yesterday that you have a list that you're knocking out right in life. So that list consists of
list consisted of, I wanted to do a podcast. Mm-hmm. I wanted to go to a swing club. Mm-hmm. And what else is on that list? I wanted to try a vegetarian diet, which I did for 3 months. And I changed. I'm back on it now. So for some reason, I don't know why Thanksgiving kind of brings that around, but I started a vegetarian diet just because I wanted to have perfect numbers when I go to the doctor, and I don't want to be like having health problems later on. Not that I do, but you know, I just want to keep everything square. I'm not your age anymore where I can have breakfast, then go do my blood work.
Yeah.
Those days are over. So I wanted to, let's see what else was on that list. There was a few things, but starting a podcast and going
Your
to
hair.
oh yeah, and I cut my hair.
You cut
I did.
your hair.
That was 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago. So this list I think I did the list in August, and I just kind of tucked it away somewhere, and then I'm like, no, I need to get down and start looking at this.
Yeah.
And so the podcast was the most difficult because I didn't know how to do it. And so I listened to a lot of podcasts on escorting because that's like kind of wrapped into this as well. If you look at like the history of Backpage, or a lot of escorting, there's a lot of massage ads and things like that on there. And so all of that is kind of tied in that way.
So you called it, your podcast is called Dirty Massage, or Dirty Secrets of Massage. So what sparked the idea of wanting to do that? Like what?
Well, I was like, why not just tell everybody what really goes on? Like, let's stop dancing around the truth and talk about what really goes on behind closed doors, whether or not it's with me or with somebody else, or all the stuff that nobody really talks about. It happens all the time. Either that or people are lying.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that like most guys don't get hit on the when they're in the session, doing the session. They might, but not nearly as much as women. And I think it's just something that's not talked about. Either that or I get hit on more than the average person. I don't know. But like, it's very awkward, and it's like, I think this guy's hitting on me. What, or whatever. And then I put it on my podcast. So whenever somebody does something shady, whether it's my neighbors or a client or anything weird happens, I put it on the podcast. So there's old stories on there and there's new ones. And I will definitely have some new ones coming up, but
yeah, you have 70 episodes out or something like that, right? Something like that.
And there's women's stories too,
Yeah.
like women that are cheating on their husbands, and they get on that table and they tell me about it, and then they text me 2 days later saying they can't make their next session because their cash flow ran out because they're broken up with their husband because they found out she was cheating.
Wow. And does it happen like often with your experience? Like, does it happen often that like you come across like people who are cheating, or like, because you said, some of these men, while you're giving them a massage, they are like just like opening up to you and they're telling you all these things. And I mean, is it common, or is it just like is that a common thing?
I think it depends on where you work too. So if you're independent, those are the ones they want to kind of corner and single out to get their little play fun, right? So,
independent as in like if you're a masseuse who either you come into their house or they do home visits?
Independent means you don't work for anybody else.
Yeah.
So it's like there's independent escorts, there's independent massage, there's independent prostitutes out there that they're not under somebody. So if sometimes they find you online somewhere and they'll straight up ask, are you independent? Yes or no? If you say no, that means you're in a building with other people. They don't want that because they can't do their shady stuff when there's other people close by.
So when you catch drift of like somebody trying to be shady or something like that, what's your natural response?
Well, depends on how they come across, because usually, like, I'll put up with it for a second, or it depends. If I've had a couple drinks or a couple gummies, I might play along for like 10 or 15 minutes or so, and then I'm like, get fucked, buddy, or whatever. So most of the time I engage because I'm trying to bring that, because I'm going to put it on my podcast now. Okay. So I engage them and then try to kind of pull some information out of them, and then maybe blow them off or ghost them or something. And then I put it on my podcast for everybody else to laugh at, because these are real text messages or phone calls that I get. And it's like, they don't care about your license. They don't care about your qualifications. All they want is somebody that's halfway decent looking to rub them down and finish the job. And then they don't care. Matter of fact, most guys, I think if they could get their way, they would come in and get what they wanted, which was a finish, and then leave. Right. And they'll pay you $200.
That's crazy.
And leave. They don't care.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Why do you think men, or you said women do that too, right?
I think, men, there's something like there's kind of like a one or two different kind of scenarios. Like either what I've ran into a sex addict before here locally. That's on my podcast as well. Nice looking guy, seems like he's got it together. Things went bad when he was younger. Now he's a sex addict, right? Well, so that kind of guy has to kind of go to different places or different people to get something different. Like they're not satisfied with the same thing. Like someone made a comment to me before, says, "Hey, I could have steak every night for dinner, but at some point I'm gonna want McDonald's."
That's crazy.
So like they don't care, and I'll ask straight up, "Oh, where do you go?" "Oh, I go to a Asian place." "Okay, well, what are you getting over there?" "Oh, I get whatever I want." It's a high volume. When somebody says they go to an Asian place that's high volume and they tell me they get whatever they want, obviously we know that girl's getting trafficked.
Oh man.
So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like these, you know, if you're telling me that you drop 60 on a session and you go in there, you get whatever you want, and you know they want, so that particular person is tight on the money because he has a wife that is keeping track of his funds and things like that. So he can't just pull 200 out of the bank because she's going to check it, because he's on probation with her for having a problem.
Yeah.
So if they're on probation, you know, with their wives or whatever, then yeah. But it's just this field is so vast and crazy that it's hard to just touch on everything all at once. But the underground of prostitution, the face of it is massage, and then what really goes on is what happens after they make their appointment. Usually if they found them on, you know, like a smut site like Backpage, but Backpage is gone, so now it's Bedpage, so it's all over the place. But most of those ads are pimps or cops. So
does it ever concern you that maybe it is a cop whenever you're texting them? Like
no, because I pretend that it's the licensing department that's texting me.
Okay.
So if I pretend that you're the government, I'm not going to say anything I shouldn't, right? So this guy could tell me he's a millionaire from out of town, you know, whatever, and I'm like, that's nice, you know. And sometimes I'll try to pressure you outside of working hours. That's nice. Anybody that's a male, I don't make appointments after dark unless you've been here before. Like if I know you, you can come after dark if you've been here a couple times.
Like a regular?
You haven't given me any problems, I don't care.
Right.
But if you're a newbie and you're like trying to get Christmas Eve, there's guys out there, they want Christmas Eve because their wife is at home, you know, throwing stuff everywhere. You know, the families in town, the drama's high. They come in, they'll call on Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve or Valentine's Day, all of those, you know, because they don't want to do it.
Yeah, that's insane. I think that's sad. Honestly.
It is sad.
Yeah, I think it's sad on both parts for men and women.
Yeah, it's sad that men are looking for female attention outside of their home while their whole family's in from out of town. There's men out there that are like, let me see if I can go get me a little massage.
Seems like a self-discipline like issue or something. Like it's like, I don't know, that would hurt because you just that's I don't know. That seems a little. I mean, obviously it's wrong, but it's like, do you notice a common theme? Like
I think it's porn. The theme is porn. I think because once the massage girl got on the porn, right, and then I've had guy friends that say, "Oh, check this out," you know, and I'm like, this is way before I was into massage, and I'm like, "Oh, the porn is free these days?" Like, "Oh, I didn't even know." I was kind of behind the times, but somebody sent me a video, and it was a porn video that included massage, and that's kind of like what they're looking for. They want to get on the table, get seduced, you know, get a little something in the face while they're getting. I mean, what guy doesn't like that? You know, I mean, come on. And
probably me. Honestly, I'm probably the outlier. I know you like talk about that, but seriously, I'm probably the outlier. I'm like the person who I never like strip clubs. I don't like glitter for one. So that's probably why. Like that's like a no. I don't like glitter, but like I don't like strip clubs. I don't like that type of thing. It's just weird. Like even like porn, I feel like it's like a. So I am single, but how I see it when I hear or think of people who are in relationships who watch porn, it's like you may as well, it's a type of fornication, right? It doesn't even matter about sin or religion or nothing. Let's just talk about what you're doing when you're dating somebody.
Right.
When you date someone, you're committing to them sexually, intimately, and providing for both of your needs in every way, emotionally, all kinds of ways, right? And I feel like what you're doing is it's like a slap in the face to that person if you're hiding from it by masturbating or something like that. And then I also think because you're deprived, you're one, it's a selfish thing that you're doing to yourself that you're not giving to your partner. Right. And I think that's like a disrespect thing. And then even if they approve of it and they know you're doing it, oh yeah, he does it, it's still rude. Because it's just like, well, you may as well go have sex with someone else. Like, instead of staring at a phone and doing at it, you should go be with someone else, like, or go have sex with someone else. It makes more sense to me. Versus, it's the same thing. There's no difference to me in my eyes. And it's just like, well, I think it is free. It is free now. It's all, obviously you can pull it up on your phone. It's on the internet like that. But I think back then, what was it, like magazines that you had to go to the store and you had to buy a magazine or
and
get it.
It was like in the bag with the paper cover over it.
Yeah. So, and it was hard. It was like less accessible, which back then relationships, I don't know if they were great or not, but like, it seems like relationships and everything nowadays is starting to become less and less and less. Like women are quick to leave men are quick to leave women. There's no loyalty. It's like, well, I'm gonna give you the same energy that you give me, and there's no like forgiveness. It's just like, dude, where's all this going? You know, and then you hear about like these like what you're talking about, like these men are I mean, it's Christmas, dude. It's like, yeah, family in town, and you're trying to get a quick getaway to have this almost a spirit like thing in you, like trying to, it needs its feed, it needs its fix. And it's like what's going on here? And
porn is so unrealistic.
It is.
And it's like, even if you look at amateur porn, it's like, okay, well, there's no like filter and the girl isn't airbrushed, and it's like you get to a point where it's like, well, your girl's not airbrushed either, and you want them to do certain things that you saw on porn, and because it's affecting the males, right? And so the term I've heard is porn sick dick.
I haven't heard that.
It's where your dick is sick from watching too much porn, or theirs or whoever's it is, and then they can't perform in the bedroom because they're so used to unrealistic and spanking it out to Jenna whoever instead of who you're with. So it's completely unrealistic.
So then in return they kind of lose interest in their person, and
then
they start having problems.
Right. It takes more and more for them to get it going.
It's a big problem. I think it is more than ever. Like pornography is just like, dude, put it down. Like I think even it goes to like to the extent of like, for me, because we were just talking about before we started, we were talking about like what is cheating, right?
What is cheating?
Like to me, cheating is like, if I've always told the girl I'm with, I've always told her like, hey, look, I don't like girls' pictures on Instagram. I don't like girls' pictures on like Facebook. Whenever I'm with you, I strictly want you to know, because if you've seen my phone, and I'm not expecting you to go to my phone, but if you had seen me like just looking over it and I like a girl's photo, I don't want you to have any insecurity in yourself by me thinking that, I like this person's picture, because what that does is it puts doubt in your mind of like, why does he have attention for someone else? Like, I thought he tells me all these things, like whatever. It gets to that extent for me personally. It's like, I feel like if you're giving attention and connection for someone else, then that's a form of cheating. You're already taking that step towards it. And I think if you're already taking that step you already know what it is. Everyone knows what it is when you're doing. They know what they're like. It's the underlying code nowadays in our society for social media. When you like someone's Facebook post, or you like their story, or when you are sending a comment, it's like a flirtatious thing of like, hey,
it's a setup.
Remember, it's a setup. Remember the poke on Facebook when it first started?
Oh, I'm poking you.
Well, I'm poking you. Remember, it's the same thing.
Yeah, but all you have to do now is come from out of the woodwork and go find your ex or something and hit that like button, and then they're going to be like, who the heck is Ava? And then they might start looking Ava Smith on, because I hit the like button somewhere, and they're like, holy cow, this chick's got all this, all this content on stuff that is predominantly has to do with massage and sex. And but matter of fact, the married ones that try to play around and think that they're not going to get caught,
Mm-hmm.
I wait. And I'll give an example because this is on my actual podcast. There was a guy down the street from me that used to walk his dog right by my house.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing? Da 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 da. Told me everything. Where his girl works, what kind of work she does, what he does, where he's from, everything. Well, one day I was coming home and I saw him out with his dog. I was, didn't have time to stop and say hi for a while, so I stopped that particular day. And he's like, oh, what are you up to? You working, this and that, whatever, da, da, da. And I said, no, I'm off. My dog's not feeling, oh, yeah. Then out of nowhere, he says, yeah, I see a lot of cars at your house.
Yeah.
So what are you doing? And he makes the spanking of the meat. He's like, what are you doing down there? And I go, you are completely out of line and you have no business saying that to me. And matter of fact, the last person was at my house was like a week ago and it was a female.
It's planting seeds.
Exactly.
It's planting seeds.
Well, so I waited because I'm like, I'm going to get this fucker and I'm going to burn him. And I said, hey, I'm going to put you on my podcast. I'm just letting you know. And he's like, yeah.
You don't say names on your podcast. So.
I do not say names,
don't say
but
names.
I say a lot of specifics.
Descriptions.
And
yeah.
a couple months later, his girl was down there, whatever, and she was talking to the person across the street, and I engaged the girl because I knew that was his wife or girlfriend, and she was kind of I was kind of starting it with her because I wanted her to know that her man is a dirty bird, right?
Yeah.
So she came back. She went home. She was in her Jeep. She flipped a U-turn, came back, and she started talking and had her window down and was going to get out of her car. And I'm like, don't come over here. I was like, that's my husband. I was like, oh, yeah? I was like, is his name this? Is it spelled like this? Do you work here at this location? And how do you know all this? And I'm like, go talk to your husband or whatever he is, and you go, and I'll let him tell you. That guy does not walk his dog down my block anymore.
Yeah, I'd expect not to. That's crazy.
It's so boring. It's so much more fun to walk by my house if I'm watering or mowing my yard in a sports skirt and a t-shirt, I guess, than walking down by an industrial area. It's not entertaining.
Yeah, it's like he's getting a kick out of that. Just like it's like in his daily.
Oh yeah,
act,
and he would walk.
He looks forward to it.
Yeah, at like 1:00 in the
That's
afternoon.
weird.
Creeper.
Yeah, yeah, that's weird.
These creepers think that like I'm not new to the game, so there's guys at the grocery store I talk to. They're all pervs, but they all listen to my podcast and they don't try to pull any creepy stunts. They're just like, how do you know all this stuff? And I'm like, because guys just don't know what they're doing.
It's the same old tune.
Yeah, and I'm gonna rat them out. And if I had that guy's number, I would send a text of a photo of something provocative at a certain. There's a science to ruining somebody's day that wants to jump in my DMs. So if they're trying to jump in my DMs, I'm gonna do something really like sketch.
So what's the solution? So on my show, I like talking about, because like there's always problems going on in the world, right?
Right.
So most people I'll bring on, I'll be like, hey, like we got these problems. So we try to prevent or to present a solution. Does there even seem like a solution for something like this? Like obviously it's nothing that we can personally maybe do. But what do you think? Obviously exposing it, I think helps it, because I think it brings some shame to it. Like,
yeah.
If they go listen to it, or if someone is hearing it and listens to your podcast and they hear and they are a cheater, or they're thinking about it, or they watch porn, or they do something wrong, I mean, I'd hope that it gives them some shame and conviction of like, bro, stop doing that. And here's my problem. This is what I always told the girls I was with. Every time I would talk to this, I had one ex. I told her, I said, because she asked me some crazy off the wall stuff. Oh, crazy off the wall stuff. It was something about like she worked at a country club, and one of the guys there used to drop $100 bill, and she could only use these two fingers to catch it, and if she caught it, she could keep it as her tip. Well, that particular guy tell me how this story sounds. Wanted to take.
I'm gonna tell you how it ends.
Yeah, wanted to take her. Right. This is what she told me. She said. I forget his name, wants to take me to Dallas to go pick up a dog. And I was like, oh, what's his name that doesn't like his wife and is always complaining about his wife to you? And she's like, him, that's him. And I was just like, yeah, you can go. And she was like, really? And I was like, yeah, as long as you tell him that, give me his wife number, and are going to go to Austin for the weekend. Y'all go to Dallas, and, you know, we're good and fine. We could do that. And she says, no, why? Like, and I was like, well, why are you saying no? We're just going to go to Austin. Like, what are you thinking? What do you think's going to happen? And she's like, well, no, never mind. And I was like, look, before you ever ask, which I would never do that, but before you ever ask me something, or before you go do something, before you say something to someone, think about if you caught me saying that, if you watched me saying that to that person, if I was standing right there, would you say that to that person? And she was like, okay, I like, you know, I won't do that. You know, I'll think about it. And it's just like, I think a lot of people should think like that. You know, before you say something to someone or a girl, before you look at someone, I know looking is hard because it's just looking, right? It's just your eyes, you know, wandering, whatever. But like, there's a difference between glancing, because it's just you're a human, you look around, and like staring and like gawing, you know? Yeah, exactly, right? So it's like, you know, think about the other person, and how it's a respect thing. And honestly, you're quite basically saying that you don't respect that person. It's like you just don't respect them.
Well, and what are the strings? What are the strings? You want me to go to Dallas? Well, how much are you going to give me?
Well, I don't know about her.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm not going to go to Dallas with you, and I'm not going to get anything out of it.
No,
I don't want to just ride out there with you. Like, I got better stuff to do, like nothing.
No, this girl just wanted to pick up a dog. She was so oblivious. I was like, oh my God.
You know, and then he's going to tell her, I want you to wear this. And I want you to wear that. Oh, we could share a room. Oh, they ran out of double beds. There's only one.
That's how it starts.
And then she's going to be like, well, it's okay. He's a nice guy. You know.
Because guys take an inch. Not even an inch. They start real small.
Well,
and then they'll take a more and more and more. And then before you know it, you're already.
This guy she's at the country club, right? So they're out there golfing and stuff or whatever, right?
Rich people. Too.
Rich people. Mm-hmm. So he already knows a general idea of how much she's making and what her lifestyle is like based on how she looks. So her presentation, she's got to keep her nails done. She's got to keep her hair, she's got to keep her face up. All this other stuff, because these guys aren't going to drop money to some FUBAR looking chick. Nope. She's got to look the part, and she's got to pretend. And part of pretending is acting like a ding dong, but not really being a ding dong. You know what I mean? It's no different than being a bottle girl. Mm-hmm. You got to stick it out there to get that cash. And so she's probably wearing low cut tops, anyways, mini skirts, golfing skirts, you know, that kind of thing, jewelry, and the image that she has to keep up with is he's pretending that's his sugar baby. Mm-hmm. That's his pretend. He's just out there hooking it up with the guys, you know, and throw her $100 bill. And if she catches it, she gets it. And I mean, that's going to put gas, groceries, and food in her dog's bowl, where to him, it's nothing. Exactly. And it's just, how high can I make this girl jump?
Yeah. And they get a kick out of it. And they know it. They know the game.
Right.
Like, and it's not even the game, but it's like people play that game all the time.
But the real game is how do you get their money for the least amount of work? Right? That's the real game.
Which is what you're on.
That's the game I'm on. How do I get you? Well, why should I send you pictures of me when you can pay for it? Or why should I, you know, there's always some guy that's always trying to get a freebie, right? Oh, can I get well, no. The price is a price. I don't care if you tip or not. Are you getting a massage? Do you get on the table or not? I don't care, you know.
So what's the end game for what's the solution? What are you trying to do? I know besides like exposing like the massage therapy side of it, is there like any other type of backing behind why you do it? Or?
Well, I like to expose what I see. So just so people are aware, like, this is really going on. Like, this is really, Is your husband doing it? No, I don't know. But, I mean, if you came to me and said, my husband ever calls you, please call me. You know, women don't want to know. I think they don't want to know what's going on because it's easier to let the guy do whatever he wants because in exchange, he's feeding her the cash, right? So in a predominantly white male hierarchy, I would say, in our country, the women, especially white women, they got to kind of go along with everything and otherwise they're cut off the cash. You're going to lose your house. You're going to lose your nice car. You're not going to get Starbucks every morning, lunch and dinner, you know, because who's going to pay for that, right? So I think a lot of them, you know, they get their boob jobs, they get their lipo and this and that. It's all fake. It's all fake. But the trafficking if there's a way to, first of all, Bethpage could get shut down. That's where a lot of it's happening. I mean, and then there's certain streets in our town, and we all know that is predominantly women of color that are actually actively outside street walking. And I mean, come on, like, do you think the cops don't know? Yeah, they know. And the only time they go over there is when a body pops up. And I think there's just so much people getting trafficked in, like from southern states and probably from Mexico and other places. Like, this is a huge hub for trafficking, and I don't think there's really any way to contain it because it's just so out of control, especially at truck stops. And it's so easy to just, I went to my brother's a couple years ago out in the middle of nowhere, and I'm like, this looks like a good hub for trafficking. And there's a lot of truck drivers in and out, and this is in a rural town. And it's like, how hard is it to bring somebody in, to the West Coast from New York or from Louisiana or something like that? Some lonely girl, and it starts at home, and they're online, they're on social media, they're on Kik, they're on Snapchat, they're on TikTok, Facebook, I don't know where, Instagram. They're in all these apps and stuff are targeting the young women and the males too, but the girls, and they find their girls like in Vegas, strung out, trafficked. And so I think the solution to that is you got to stay in your kids. They got to stay in school. If you can afford private school, send them to private school. They should probably be in church, and you got to stay in them and limit their screen times and have parental guidance on the screen, because these kids, these girls don't know. They're like 14.
I think girls don't know, and they're like my age, and they still don't know. Some of them are kind of silent. They're just like asleep. Like
bimbos.
Yeah, you have no idea what's going on in this world. Like, you don't have standards, you don't have morals, you don't know what you're looking for. All you're wanting to do, and it's just, I think a lot of it is the music that they listen to.
Oh, yeah.
And all the friends that they kick it with. They're all like not trying, like I said earlier, misery loves company. And these girls are like, let's just get dolled up and let's just go out this weekend and get drunk all weekend and whatever. And like, it's just like a weird day. It's like their little kick that they get too. It's
well, yeah, let's have girls' night, and then they go out and the Uber guy kidnaps her, or somebody doesn't check and make sure they got home, or whatever it is. And most of the time, like when I go out alone, or if I go out with somebody, I send them a text right away as soon as I get home. Yeah, that's it. Hey, I'm home. See ya.
Hell, I do that and I go running.
Yeah.
I'll text somebody, hey, I'm going running. And then I'm like, if I don't text you back in about an hour and a half, you need to go look for my location. Because because I go in the woods and stuff, like, it's just
right.
Like, I'm gone.
put an air tag in your sneaker.
Yeah.
I mean, men are doing that too.
I actually put an air tag in my shorts, so we're good. I have like 2 ways. I'm covered.
I mean, and these guys.
Covered. Well, now not. So.
Yeah.
Do you hear me? So.
Yeah. So I mean, I think I don't know. Well, I found out a lot of stuff from listening to podcasts too, especially about those escorts and about money and financial building and things like that. I listened to a lot of that stuff online, and that's how, I could easily go into Bethpage and pull an ad up and tell you, okay, if an ad is telling you we take yen, Dubai money, dollars and Bitcoin and all that, who is funding that? And also Bethpage, you can't put an ad up anymore unless you use Bitcoin. So there's that tied in there too. Wow. It used to be you could just drop $5 like a Craigslist ad, and everybody kind of moved from Craigslist. I don't know what, because they took out the dating section, they took out the erotic section, they took out everything. So, but there's massage girls that are embedded in different categories. Like they might be in the farm and garden, or they might be in the health and beauty or the wellness. They're everywhere.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And the language is all messed up in the ad and everything. So when the girl is skimpily dressed and says, I'll give you a good rub down and all this and that, are they taking money away from the rest of us? Probably not, because, she's obviously going to give them something that I'm not going to give. So have at it, bud, but who knows where she's at, if she's in an apartment, or if some of those apartments are made or rented out just for this purpose.
Exactly.
What are they called? Trap houses?
Well, trap houses are different.
That's for drugs.
I know what trap house. Yeah, trap. I saw it's so funny why they call it the trap, because I don't know if a lot of people know why they call it the trap, but it's because it's once you get caught and you get incarcerated for drugs or whatever,
Right.
you have to go back into that because you're a felon now, you can't get a job, and that's why it's called the trap. That's why they call it a trap house. It's like, in my estimation, that's why I call it trap. It makes sense to me when I hear it, because it's like, yeah, it's a trap, bro. Like, you're not gonna get out of it.
Right.
Yeah, you're caught. Like,
Or you're not gonna get out of the house itself.
No. So you don't ever get nervous? You don't ever get scared or like just
No.
leery about
Because I feel like I know what to do.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, if you come to me and you're cool and everything, and then all of a sudden you get squirrely or whatever, well, it depends. Depends.
Hey, you never know. There's some people that are real calm, cool, collective their whole entire life, and then you catch them on that one time, and they're just like, they flip.
Right. And it's just like, hey, like if somebody gives me a bad vibe over the phone, usually it's over the phone first, like a text or a call. I'm not going to book them. And most of the people I see now, they've been coming to see me regularly for like 2 years.
Okay.
So every now and then I'll see a new person and I'll test them. You know, I had a new guy and I'm like, yeah, he sounds kind of young, but his language is put together. He wasn't young. He's like 42. And so he comes in, he's really nice and, you know, didn't give me any problems. Every now and then I'll throw a little thing out to see, you know, it's like, oh, your wife's in town. How's she doing? Oh, she's good. You know, he talks about her a lot. So Chris isn't going to do anything.
Green flag.
Yeah, he's not going to do anything. Yeah.
Good for him.
I mean, I'll even say, oh, you look like you got a fresh pedicure going on here.
He wants a massage.
He just
what
wants a massage.
What are the odds? From a massage therapist.
And he tips well.
What do you know?
And he never misses a session. And
shake your hand and thank you very much. See you next week.
Give me your money and I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Wow. I thought that's how it's supposed to work.
Well, you know, and I got a few women that come and a few guys. They don't give me any problems. You know, I stay consistent. I don't switch it up on them. I don't give you like, you know, the same really good massage for 6 months and then all of a sudden I'm doing something else and like, you know, because you're going to get mad at me. So I do the exact same thing, just the same thing that I get when I go to massage. I want the same chick to do the same thing, to give me whatever you gave me last time. Okay. And I ask them, do you want the same thing? Yeah, just give me the same old thing.
Man, I don't. Yeah, that's a lot. It just bothers me. Like, men bother me. I think
they bother me too.
Yeah, I bet they do. Men bother me, dude. And you know, women too. Especially young women. God bless America. But it's. I think a lot of it starts with men. You know, it's like, because it sucks that, you know, if a girl does know that a guy's cheating and she can't do much because he's a provider, it's like almost like pinning them. And it's like, well, what are you going to do about it? It's so unhealthy.
I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to leave?
You can't.
You're going to leave and you got 4 kids and another one? You know, come on. And it's like, it's almost like if you're going to do your dirty, how many guys drop dead and they got another family? Somewhere else.
Shoot, I don't know.
All the time.
Yeah.
I'm sure it happens all the time. They're like, people coming out of the woodwork, you know, half kids, half siblings, or they do those DNA tests and they find out that they're adopted. You know, there's lies everywhere. Everybody's lying about everything. And instead of just being straightforward and like, hey, like you low-key getting on my nerves, like, can we take a break or whatever the deal is?
Yeah, I think somebody listening to this would think like, oh man, you know, because it's not talking about, you know, it's like swingers and cheating and sex and therapy, like, you know, it's just like it seems a little like daunting to the ears, but it's like, no man, this stuff actually, it does happen. People aren't being truthful in relationships, and I think that's what I like to center my show about, is like, dude, start being honest with yourself first and then go be honest with other people. If you can't be honest to yourself, then you're gonna wreck everything. You're gonna live a lie, and what shines in the dark will come to light, buddy. It does. It does. You can hide it for as long as you want, but it's gonna eat and eat and eat at you, and then it comes to light. It
you
just
know,
will.
part of my background was like that too. Like, I'm like, God, I've done some pretty shady stuff, or man, I'm like, no guy's ever going to want to be with me. And I'm like, you know what? Does it matter? At the end of the day, does it matter? Are any of these people paying any of your bills? And I've always said that to girls that were subordinate to me while I was active duty. I'm like, look, if this doesn't pay your bills, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If this does not, if it's not going to matter in 5 years, like, you know what I mean? Like, you got to keep your relationships together because those do matter. And it's like, okay, are you gonna want to split up with somebody, or you want to? Now you got to go find another place to live. Now you got to put your kids in another school. And this and that. All this stuff that comes from lying is just never good. So if there's question, have an open relationship. Go to a swing club now and then and check it out. It's not. I promise, it's not what everybody thinks it is. And just go and check it out, and then you might spice it back up or get out of town. I have no idea. I'm not married and I don't have kids, so I don't know how to keep relationships together.
Do you think that would? Do you think that would help?
What, if I got married?
No, going to a swingers club.
Oh, I 100% know it helps.
Oh, really?
Because people go there and they tell me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And they'll say, oh, we like to come and there's a ton of people that have been married 20 years and up that are in there.
Crazy.
We've been together 24 years. We just like to have a little fun, and they bring your own beer. You bring whatever you want in there, and they set up their shots or their drinks or whatever. And most people are there for kind of voyeurism, but I guarantee you they're going to spice it up back at the house. Oh, okay. Or at a hotel or in a side room somewhere.
Yeah, I don't think I could do that. I don't know. I'm just different. I'm different. I don't think I could do it. I haven't. I'm obviously not married, but it's just like, I think even if I did, it's just like, I think that's probably why I am single. I had a friend the other day ask me, she was like, why are you single or whatever? And I was like, cause it's just, I think I'm too honest about, not even too honest. I'm just really honest. I'm very honest with you, and I'm very like straightforward, and a lot of people don't know how to take that, and a lot of people know how to take support from somebody. Like when somebody's like trying to support you and always wanting you to do better and like talk to you and really get to know your life. And that's the problem, I think, is like when a guy's trying to know like, hey, how was your day? What was going on with this? What was going on with that? Da, 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 da. After a while, when you don't like it, it's like, oh, now you're being toxic. You're being overbearing. You're asking too much. You're doing too much. Da, da, and it's like, okay, where the hell is the line at then? Because I'm interested in your life, but now you want me to die off a little bit. But now that I'm dying off and giving what you want, now you want the opposite. You want me to come back because like, I don't give you enough. And it's like, yeah, it's like,
I can't do that.
It's like, what the hell? So it's like, well, then it's like, I think you got to be honest with people. And it's going to hurt, but you have to. You have to. It's the best policy. Honest with yourself first, and then be honest with other people. Why do you laugh?
The best policy is to have separate places to live or separate bedrooms.
Really?
Right? So you could have all your stuff in your room and they can have all their stuff in there. And you meet in the middle, or whatever. Or because it creates enough space that you're not like smothered and hovered over all the time.
I know some people that do that.
And if the shit hits the fan, guess what? It's an even split.
Yeah. I know some people that have done that. I've heard. I know actually like two people, like two couples.
And they say it works.
Well, no, they ended up divorcing. One of them ended up divorcing, but they did it for years, and I was always curious. It just sounded so like not good. I don't know why.
Well, because we're conditioned that when you're with somebody, you're supposed to be in the same space.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. Like I don't like that whole. I mean, eventually, I think I like the whole thing of like if you get with somebody, I do what I do, and I'm gonna continue doing what I do as long as it's healthy. I just want you to come along with me, and I come along with you, and we enjoy life. But being our own people, and then eventually you mesh out to being like similar in some ways. Like it just happens naturally because you are who you hang around. So you pick up their qualities, they pick up yours, they pick up your good habits or bad habits, whatever, vice versa. But I think it's like an expectations thing. I think people they're not open to be like, hey, what do you want? What do you expect? What are you wanting out of life?
Well, they don't know.
They don't know.
Because they've never asked themselves.
But then you meet somebody who does know what the hell they want, and then if you don't know what you want and you like them, then now they're pretty much telling you what you want and what you need.
Right.
It's like you better figure it out. Like, as I try to tell people, figure out who the hell you are, figure out what you're wanting. And even if you kind of don't, just, at least know what you don't want.
Right.
Then that'll tell you what you do want.
Keep doing whatever works.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, then clearly something you need to change. I don't know how many times I've said, this is not working.
Mm-hmm.
But this is working. X, Y, and Z is working. My webpage is working. My Google is working. How do I know? Because people call me.
Mm-hmm.
How did you find me? Google, massage near me. I mean, people are coming up the main highway and I pop up, that's how they find me. Or, so your web works, your referrals work, that works. If it's not what is not working? Oh, my location sucks. My building manager sucks. How do I change it? Well, I need to get out of here and find something else. Okay. And you find something else. But I don't want to hear people complain and then they don't fix it. I can't deal with that. Like, if you know there's a problem and this is not working, what are you doing to change it? And how long are you going to take to change it? I mean, I don't want to hear about this for 6 months and you have done absolutely nothing to fix it.
No, you know what people do instead?
They complain.
And they go misery loves company.
Yeah.
They go find some other people that are complaining too. And those people are telling them, yeah, you're doing right. You're doing good. Just, it'll whatever. And they're like, no, because they're low off in their life too. They're upset with themselves. And they're like, why would somebody you got to go talk to somebody who's already like experienced it and who's like wants the best for you. And sometimes it's nobody. Sometimes it's no one. Sometimes it's hard to find because people are just going to give you their opinion of what they think. And you don't know where the hell you're catching them at throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the time, throughout the month. If they're in a down season right now in their life, they're not going to give you any they don't even want to hear your positive stuff or what you're trying to do or relationship advice or personal advice. It's like sometimes you actually just have to dig down within yourself and be like, what do I want minus everybody else? What's going to make me happy? What am I looking for? And then you do that.
Right. But the problem, though, I think, is the decision making.
Mm-hmm.
So if let's say I have this list of things I want to do, start a podcast, do this, do that, right? So I make that list and then I do it. Like, It took me a couple of months to be like, okay, I think I'm going to start working on this list now. But this podcast was like a huge stinky dink because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to get paid. I didn't know how to oh my God, who do I share this with? Because you got to have a certain amount of listeners for the money to start trickling. Yeah. So then you have to really let your guard down and say, hey, I started this podcast. Mm-hmm. You might enjoy it. I'm just letting you know it's kind of racy and whatever. Mm-hmm. And so people started listening. And then I sent it because there was like a family reunion that I wasn't going to. And, my family's kind of on the dick side. So I'm like, you know what? I think I'm just going to ruin the trip for everybody. And I sent them all the link. And so they started listening to it. They're like, what is this stuff? And I'm like, this is the truth. Mm-hmm. And so my podcast is an autobiography of me, right? And this story will never end. You write a book, there's always an end to the story. When you have a podcast, the story never ends. No. It just keeps on going and going. It does. And if something happens to you, oh well, it's online. Yeah. It never goes away. Yeah. And so the decision making for me, it has to be swift and quick. Like, okay, let's say I'm going to sell my house. Boom, call somebody. I want to sell my house. Okay. Well, we're going to come over and take a look and we're going to list it. And boom, gone. That was my first house. I didn't think twice. I just sold it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I 100% agree. I'm reading a book and it talks about having urgency, doing things with intensity and urgency.
Right, with a purpose.
That's what you're doing with the purpose. Because too many people are like, yeah, I want this in my life and I want to be that. And then they just let it linger and linger. It's like, bro, if you really wanted it that bad, you would just go do it. But instead, you like hearing yourself. You like hearing this, you like the attention. You like all these things. It's like, dude, go do it.
Just There's comfortability with mediocrity. I'm comfortable with being middle of the road. Well, I'm not. When I was in massage school, I'm like, I'm going to beat every one of you in this exam. I'm going to be the best therapist out there. Of course, they didn't know I had a little background anyway, but I was in there. I'm like, I'm not flunking this exam. and I kept telling myself that, like, hey, study 4 months out, study, because I'm not about to be that chick that they're talking about, that was gung-ho in the front row the whole time, and I flunked the test on the first WAP. Like, that's not happening here. So just go, and if it sucks, you work somewhere and it sucks, I tell them, hey, this place sucks, or, like, the communication seems to be a little poor around here. Like, what's the deal? And of course, if you see a flag, the whole place is a shit show. And the best for me is to just work for myself, because I have no patience. After being in the military, I have no patience.
I think even maybe the way you grew up too. It seems like that has like something to do with it. Like it just molds you into who you kind of are.
So I'll recommend the birth order book. I forget the name of the doctor that wrote it, but it's very good. You can kind of pick through it to see what it goes over: adopted, foster kids, step kids, regular, family. But it's all about where you fit in the pecking order. And I always thought I was a middle child, but I'm not. I'm a firstborn by gender. So first female has the same characteristics as a regular firstborn, whether it's a male or female. So the leadership quality started early, based on where I came in the chop line.
I'm a firstborn too. Mm-hmm. It's like that. There's like this whole thing of like an oldest needs to get with like a youngest child because they like to be led and take care of, and then you don't want an oldest and the oldest together because they butt heads because they're too busy trying to lead and do their own things and they want to be alone. Like there's like a whole like science.
You have two alphas.
Behind it. Mm-hmm.
If you have like a firstborn and a firstborn, but guess what? My dad's a firstborn, lonely only. My mom's a firstborn. They got married, like really. My brother, oldest brother, obviously, and then me. So there's 4 firstborns in the same family. Wow. Like imagine all of us like probably don't get along too well.
Yeah.
It's like, and I'm kind of the black sheep too, but the black sheep they say is the most honest. So.
There's an outlier to everything.
Right.
Seriously. I like to be the outlier.
And I'm just over here like...
I like to shock people.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I want to prove you wrong. That's why I like being the guy that I am, because I like to prove everybody wrong. Like, it's like when they hear, like, you don't like doing that? You're like this? You're what? And I'm like, yeah. I don't agree with that. I think that's actually tainting whatever the hell it is that you're doing. You need to cut it out. And it sounds weird, but it's just like, that's the way I live. If you live the way you live, cool. Like
they think I'm weird. I've had somebody say you eat weird food, and I'm like, I don't come to your house and say that you eat weird food when you're frying your chicken fried steak and whatever it is you're doing. Yeah. You're saying I eat weird because I put kimchi on my rice and my seaweed. I think you forgot that I lived in Asia for 5 years. Nice. Shocker. Yeah. My house is not decorated, really. And it's like, I've had people like, oh my God, where's that? I'm not like you. And I've always known that I'm nothing like the rest. And it's like, instead of thinking there's something wrong with me, it's like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. And you're definitely unique and set out from everybody else. And once I was able to get the bag secured and healthcare, all my VA stuff taken care of, then it doesn't matter what everybody else says. Because I'm still getting paid. And these people don't control how much money I roll in, doing massage therapy or anything else. And so they can say whatever they want. Because at the end of the day, I'm still making, 80 and 100 something an hour every time I do a session with no complaints and rebooks. And so stick it, I'm doing it my way.
Yeah, as you should. It's an American way.
I have my... instructor certification and license too, so every now and then I'll try to apply for jobs just as a joke, and they'll say, oh my God, you have this instructor license, what do you plan on doing with that? And I'm like, oh, that was on my list too, to get that license. And so I just went and got it because it was on that list that I wanted to accomplish, because my instructor told me, oh well, you need X amount of years before they'll let you, and this and that. Like I think she said like 2 or 3 years, and it's not. It's 1. It's 1 year of a regular license with 500 massage hours, and chair massage counts. And I pulled out my book. I had my old planner. I had plenty of hours logged in, and I'm like, why is she lying to me like that? Because she was gatekeeping and didn't want me to go get that license. In your own field, people are gatekeeping.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, and I'm just
I think
like,
in people's own families and stuff, people gatekeep.
oh yeah.
And everything. Like, there's gatekeepers everywhere. And that's why it's good to have that mentality of like, hey, I'm going to get this done regardless of who's around,
Right.
who says anything. It doesn't matter. I'm going to do it.
Right.
And this is what I want to do in my life.
Right.
And we're going to get it done. And
So,
just keep pushing.
I don't know what I'm going to do with this podcast, but I guess I'll keep it for now because.
Yeah. One thing what touches my heart more than anything of all the cheating and all that stuff is the sex trafficking. I think that's just so sad. I like, and you're not going to stop it, but it's a huge thing right now. Those harvesting organs sex trafficking right now is a big thing that's like starting to come to the light. And it's like, dude, what the hell? Like, it's out there and it's around. It's crazy.
Everywhere.
It's crazy.
There's pervs in the school. They're at the principal. There's all kinds of stuff going on. But the best you could do is teach your kids like, stranger danger, whatever. I don't know what.
Get involved in their life.
Right.
Yeah, I had a friend on. He was talking about stop being a friend to your kids and start being a parent.
Right.
To your children. It's like, yeah. I mean, who cares what the other parents are going to think? Like, wow, that parent's real strict on it. I was like, yeah, at least my kid's on point of what the hell to expect in this world. Because the world's going to come at them regardless. Are they going to be ready? Or are they going to be prepared or not? And because either way, they're going to wake up one day.
Well, and kids, I got into a little discussion on Reddit about somebody was complaining that the school was asking for like a $3 fee for like dress up day or something, and they were complaining. And so everybody's like, oh, all the fees and taxes in school and this and that. And I'm like, why does it matter well, what about the people that can't pay and this and that? I'm like, well, when you have a child and you take on that responsibility, but the argument is that they wanted their kid to fit in, and that's why they went along with it. And it said, well, okay, if you really disagree on a $10 movie day at school, I mean, hold your kid out of school and take them to a matinee instead. Or if you want to rebel against like the fundraising, do something else. But instead of complain about it, so they complain about it, but they don't want their kid feeling left out, so they go along with it. So
that's groupthink, though.
Right. So now
it's a sign of groupthink.
Like
you know what groupthink is? Like just because the masses are doing it, I'm gonna do it too.
Right.
Like, I don't want to say nothing. I don't want to be like ousted. I don't want to be. So I'm just gonna agree with it too.
Yeah, but and then you'll silently say, "Well, I don't agree with it," but
that's the problem with that's the problem with us nowadays, like our generation especially. Oh, it's such groupthink about everything.
I think about the sheeple.
There you go. Pretty much. I have a problem with that that thing, that saying sheep sheeple. Well, sheep. You know how they say like, oh, you're a bunch of sheep. I'm a wolf. I'm a lion. Whatever.
Right.
It's like when you take it into like religious terms, I have an issue with it. But I get what they're saying.
Right.
Because like in religion,
because we are the sheep.
We are the sheep, right? So it's like, well, I am a sheep though. Well, I got this tatted on me. I'm a sheep dog. So it's like I protect our sheep. I protect us from the wolves. That's why I'm trying to like. Yeah, this stuff is happening. Go listen to some true stuff, on your podcast and hear the truth. It's not going to sound pretty, but the truth isn't really ever pretty. But be aware of like this is what's going on. But it takes people, like I would say us to shine some light on the truth, if not shine all the light on the truth, because it needs to be exposed. Like tired of all this stuff going on.
What is your husband really doing when he's walking his dog?
Get into your husband's life. Like get into your people's lives. Like literally get into their lives. And if they don't want you to come into their lives, it's because they're hiding something. Right. Seriously. Like it's like, well, and that's a damn shame, because it's like maybe they're trying to save you from something. Right.
And
maybe they are.
I mean, for so many years I was like, I feel really bad about, some things I've done. And then in the dating field, I'm like, oh, you're a felon? Perfect. Because
that's how it works, though.
It makes me feel like way less as bad if somebody's done a couple years.
Right.
You've done 1, 2, 10, 50? Oh, it's okay. How many people?
But that's how it is. People, it starts setting your standards for yourself, and then you're like, you're just trying to feel good about what you've done, because you compare. It's like, all right, well, our comparisons to what we've done in life work out. And it's like, no, what's past is past.
Right.
As long as you've acknowledged it, you live with it, and you're like, hey, my mom always said, like, you own it.
Right.
And it's like, all right, now what do I want? What do I expect? And I deserve everything. And I'm ready to be that. I've learned my lessons, and everybody has a messed up past. Everybody does.
Right.
And if you don't think you do, go to a church because you need to go get blessed and prayed on. Seriously.
Sit in the front.
Sit in the front. Yeah, because it's you got problems already. But everybody has a messed up past, and you don't ever hold it against somebody for their past, because as soon as you start pointing the finger, point it back at yourself and start asking yourself, and then if move on with that and start live. Like, how are we going to build on that? How are we going to help each other out with this past trauma, these issues, these things? Like, let's start truly getting into each other's life. Everybody, I think, in life is so surface level with everybody. They need to get into the depths, get out of the shallow, get into the depths of, like, man, what is this person like? You should be able to answer a question for them if they weren't there. Like,
right.
If they're not there, how would this person react in this situation? Oh, I know exactly how they would. Some people don't. It's just like, I wish people would get, even if for their children, you should know what your kid is dealing with in school, because when your kid comes home and one thing, I have a friend of mine, his daughter, I think a year ago or so, she came home and she's like, or he said that she's starting to say, I think it was either say a word or hit. I can't remember if she was hitting, like just hit, or she would say a word. I forget what word it is, but it wasn't a bad word, but it was just like a word that they don't usually use or say around the house. I'm like, where the hell is she getting that from? Boom, daycare. But if you're involved in your kid's life and you're raising them, then you could like pinpoint, like, all right, now you go address that at the school in the day. Like, hey, what's going on here? Why is my kid hitting at home and she never hits, or he never hits? So what's going on here?
Or they're picking up slang from music and stuff, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. It's
well, like that. I tell my brother lives in a rural town, and I'm like, do you know what that is? And he's like, no, I mean, well, what is it? They throw the hand up to here. I think that's a drug sign.
Oh,
I don't know.
It's like, I think
when
it's,
they go, sheesh.
No, dude, I don't get in, but I think I know. One of them says, sounds so ridiculous. I know it's like ice in the veins. Or it's just like, it's like cold. It's like damn, like.
But what is the street word for ice?
Dude, their jargon is ridiculous. Like, they'll say stuff, and I'm just like, oh, that's way over my head.
But it gets like, it's a trend. Like when the dab thing was out, and the little football, all the kids are doing the dab thing, and then they're doing this, they're doing that. And I tell my brother, and I'm like, bro, you need to get on TikTok and type that in, or get on Urban Dictionary and see what that really means. Because even though your kids are in a rural area, they're picking that up from somewhere.
Yeah. No, they are. But if you're not involved in their life, then you don't know.
Well, he's involved. He's just clueless.
I don't like TikTok.
They're a little wholesome over there.
Yeah, I don't like TikTok. I think too many people get information from like TikTok and like.
I've learned a lot on TikTok.
Everybody does. They learn more in TikTok than they do in school.
Well, and Facebook is out.
Yeah.
Facebook is for grandmas.
Pretty much.
And Instagram is for, I don't know.
I like Instagram.
That's the younger crowd.
Yeah, I like Instagram. I don't. Maybe there's a certain generation. I like Instagram, but I do need to get on TikTok because, it's.
I got a client off of TikTok.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have been a good client if he didn't want to cheat so much.
Yeah.
TikTok.
I think you said something earlier. It's been staying in my head. Is they need to put their kids into like a private school or to like a church or something.
Right.
Like, to prevent these things, because I think people who are already old, like just older, like 18, well, not 18, but like my age and up, pretty much, you're pretty much doing what you want to do with your life, because either the people around you are enabling you, and they're just like, yeah, keep living your life, whatever. But you haven't had somebody real in your family be like, nah, man, I could tell you're not happy.
Right.
I could hear it in your voice. I could see it in your everything. You're not happy. Change.
Right.
And I'll support you with that change. Like, but that doesn't happen. Like, I think but it's just like, okay, for these generations to come, it's going to be very important. These kids coming up of like, so they don't go into this, so they are aware of their surroundings, so they don't get trafficked, so they don't go to these things that they're able to have honest communication. You like have an honest communication with them while you're raising them, so that when they get with someone, they know like, damn, when I grew up, my parents always made me talk. So when you get with your wife or your husband, it's like, we got to talk. I'm used to that. We have to do this. Like, it's got to be, like social media, they say it made us closer to everybody else, right? But it took us away from the people around us. And it's just like,
everybody's got a face in the phone.
And they don't know nothing about the person next to them. It's sad. it's just a lot. It's just sad what's going on in the world. It's like you need to.
Or even our neighbors.
Yeah, I love my neighbors. They're cool, man.
I'm always watching mine.
Yeah.
I don't trust any of them.
I'm sure they watch me. I'm always running or doing something.
I'm always like, that camera's new. When did they put that up? Let me go ahead and close these.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I think I see another camera on the other side of the fence. Oh, let me go check in the backyard. Okay, there's only one.
Yeah, funny.
It goes by the pool. Okay, cool. This one goes by the gate. Okay, cool. So I made sure I put a lock on my gate right there and whatever. I think their truck is a little too nice for the neighborhood. It doesn't match the hood. Like an $80,000 truck. And I'm like, whoa.
Man, to each his own.
I'm like, have fun over there.
To each his own. Cool. Well, we're going to wrap it up.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks for having me.
No, for sure. Thank you for coming on. If so, y'all can find. So, what platforms are you on?
I'm on Apple, Amazon, Spotify. Oh, what else? Wait, Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Anchor. The web. The podcast is called Dirty Secrets of Massage. The handle is Ava Smith, and each clip is fairly short, like 15 minutes or less. So every now and then there's some that are a little longer, and they don't put them in order that I put them up for whatever reason. They're kind of scrambled. Okay. But it doesn't need to be in a sequence really. So, cool. Who is Ava is like the raw down and dirty of the before massage. Yeah. So like how I got into this and and where I've been and some of the underground things that I've seen, it's in there. So Who is Ava is like for me is my best podcast that I've done because I got real comfortable and just telling my story.
You're vulnerable.
Right.
Yeah, you're being raw, vulnerable.
But it's good.
That's how yeah. Everybody loves some stuff like that.
Right. And there's some mental health stuff in there too somewhere, so I try to, kind of mix it up a little bit, but at the same time, so.
Check it out.
Check it out.
Who is Ava?
That's
Check
me.
it out. Just to get to know her. And then from there, subscribe and start listening. Right?
That's right.
Thank you for my first collab.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I had a great time.
For sure. Absolutely. Thank y'all for watching and love yourself so that you can go love someone else. Appreciate it. Cool. Thank you.